Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Agent's Edge. My name is Ryan Polimeni. Today I have a very special guest speaker on the show, and I've been trying to get this guy to come on for a while. He's incredibly busy, and I could sit here, honestly, for about a half hour and tell you all the great things about Charlie Cina. But first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this. I met Charlie in 2018 at a conference, and watching him on stage, he was so dynamic that at the very end of that workshop, I had to make sure that I got his number. And within a week, Charlie had become my personal coach. And I've had the phenomenal honor and opportunity to not only, spend time with Charlie and hours of his time going through his coaching process and him really shaping my mindset towards becoming a better coach and how to really attract more people into my business. But I had the opportunity to fly to Vegas. Now, most people go to Vegas to party, to go, gambling. I flew to Vegas for literally 7 hours. Because Charlie goes like, I got this morning open. He gave me 2 hours of his time, and he actually ended up giving me about 7. So I was so honored to fly to Vegas for just a few hours and fly home the same day. Now, I live in Raleigh. That's a long flight back and forth, but I didn't care. That's the importance that this man brings to the table and why you should get around him. So, he's also an author of one of my favorite books, Exposing Clothes. We're going to dive into that. And I got to tell you, this book had just come out. I think I got one of the first copies of it signed by my man. It stays right in my important book collection in my library. So Charlie Cina has made such an impact in my life. And if you ever get the opportunity to be around him for more than 10 minutes, you will understand why. So with that introduction, Charlie, if you don't mind just saying hi, tell us a little about yourself. And then, man, I got a lot of questions I want to ask you because our viewers are going to be able to get so much out of this interview that you just bring to the table.
Well, bro, he made my day. I'm glad. Certainly nothing makes me happier than when, somebody references how you've impacted their lives. So, as much as I gave you, you gave back to me, especially since I've watched your growth and watched you implement. You're the real deal. You're a sales professional and entrepreneur, and thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely, man. It's been an absolute privilege and honor. So, Charlie, tell us a little bit about you, because one of the things that was so attractive about you to me is I felt like I was at a point in my career where I had done really well sales wise, but I kind of felt like I was plateauing, right? I was kind of like stagnant for a while. And I was going, look, there are certain things that I want to accomplish, but I'm at the point where I can only accomplish so much by myself. And listening to you and seeing the amount of people, the high level people that you work with was so intriguing to me, going, if a guy like Tony Robbins is going to work with Charlie Cina, there's got to be something here. There's got to be something that I can take. And that's what was so attractive. And then you and I had these conversations around, how to build your own personal brand. And, I love how you give, and I'm not going to give it away because I'm going to let you do it, but, pick a letter and build a 3-part mission statement to it. And that was so important to the success of getting me to the next level. It's kind of just starting to wrap my mind going, all right, yes, sales is great, but are you on a mission? Like, are you a brand? And you have done so well with helping me become and think differently about how to become a brand, not just a salesperson, but a business brand that allows me to be able to scale all over the country by teaching and doing certain things. So if you wouldn't tell us a little about, what you do and some of your processes and how people can really take a lot away from that.
Full transparency, I didn't know I had a process. It wasn't until I met another mentor who's like, brother, you got the it. He goes, there, you have a process. He goes, let me just help you connect a couple dots, which, in my mind, everybody needs a mentor, because sometimes you can't see the forest through the trees, as they say, right? You may have the talent, not know how to connect those dots, or, sometimes you got to, pull back the curtain a little bit to really get a clear view. So that being said, I started out at an early age, being a sales professional. Right now, you say, well, how are you a sales professional as a kid? Well, I was a paper boy. right? I was knocking doors, getting, trying to shovel driveways, rake leaves,
Yeah.
cut lawns. I was door knocking when I didn't even technically know what door knocking was,
Mm.
right? It was prospecting. I was prospecting, but I didn't know it was called prospecting. So
Right.
at an early age, delivering newspapers, I would, knock doors to increase my distribution, right? And I
Right.
tell everybody, I learned at an early age that the more you introduce, the more you produce. And those rhyme. I don't know why they rhyme, but as I evolved from, youth and in getting into sales and learning the power of words,
Mm-hmm.
um, words are things, and words trigger pictures, which trigger emotions, which lead to action steps. So I knew the more doors I knocked, the more money I would make, because I would procure them as a customer, make money off selling them the paper. And then when I would go to collect, right back in the old school days, you literally had to go knock on the door and say, hey, it's, $1.50 for the week. And,
Right.
Mrs. O'Grady would come out with her envelope, and
Yeah.
there'd be $2.50 in the, envelope, and you'd make a buck
Yeah.
tip, or $2 or whatever the number was. So I learned that at an early age. And then as I progressed in school, I started, I was a waiter. Well, I knew that, the more desserts I sold, the bigger the ticket was. I sold shoes in high school. Same thing. You sell the shoes. How do you sell the upgrades, the polish, and the whatever? So all those basic things that I learned early on really helped me, build my hustle, build my grind, but really fine tune the basic sales skills that I needed, right? How to overcome rejection.
Yeah.
Right? Rejection actually is giving you direction, because if someone rejects you and you don't take it personally, you know that person was a suspect, not a prospect. You're on to the next deal. So those basic things that I didn't even understand that I was learning until later in life, as I reflected and said, wow, that really was a solid, right? That was a solid learning experience that gave me the infrastructure that turned me into the individual that went the extra, yard, or in some instances a mile, or crawled, through dirt, or hopped a fence, or did whatever I had to do to ultimately, shake a hand, master the art of the introduction, and learn how to connect with high level people that I knew would be my ideal clients.
Yeah. I got to tell you, one of my most fond memories of you and I when I was in Vegas was you and I went to breakfast at I think it was the Wynn is where we spent our time. And you were teaching me that. You were saying, because I wasn't very good at the art of introduction. I was just like, hey, I'm Ryan, I move on. But watching, you talk about it, but you actually do it. And that was so intriguing to me. We sat down for breakfast. I remember, the waitress came over and you said, yeah, I think her name was Ann. You're like, hi, Ann, my name is Charlie. This is Ryan. Like, just that simple introduction made that whole experience that much better. But I'm bringing it up because I've watched you do with other business people. And I remember being at the conference when I first met you. And I think it was Ray Lewis that was up there, just absolutely ripping it up. But after the show, you had gone up to him, introduced yourself, and you guys were like getting ready to do business. And I'm like, how did this just happen? Like, that is a phenomenal way. But it's the way you do it. It's the manners that you do it in, but it's the simplicity that you bring, Charlie, that I think throws a lot of people off, because they think they have to have this incredible introduction, this 30-second sales pitch. But the reality is the way you do it is phenomenal. So, I want to talk about that a little bit, because we hit on that, but I want you to go a little bit deeper into that, because Charlie, I think so many people miss the simplicity of, hi, my name is Charlie Cina. What's yours?
Well, here's the deal. Truth, authenticity, and proof goes a long way.
Yeah.
And without question, we as a country, a world, especially because of what we're doing right now, right? We're on a Zoom. You lose. It's one thing to be high tech. It's another thing to be high touch,
Yeah.
right? So the art of human connection is lost. My son now is going back to college this semester, and he comes home and he's like, Dad, like, nobody's connected. Like no
Yeah.
one's out there
Mm.
interacting. He comes home and he's trying to make, new friends, and he's excited to be back at school. He's a sophomore, second year. He did his first year last year online. So a lot of stuff becomes lost. So,
Yeah.
common courtesy, the ability to say hello to somebody, and then knowing what to say, right? Who are you? What do you do? What problems you help people solve from a business perspective is huge. And it's not always about business, so you're selling somebody. I had no intention of you calling me up, right? And hiring me as a consultant.
Yeah.
In fact, when you called me, I didn't even put that together initially, if you remember, right? I'm like, well, I thought you were calling me for a completely different reason. And you're like, no, I want to fly out there and I want you to coach me for a day and teach me how to do what you just did on stage, right? And what you're telling me about Ray Lewis, I don't even remember you discussing that with me. So that was something else that you saw me do, right? But again, we lead by example.
Yeah, exactly.
So I walk the walk, talk the talk. All that being said, Ray Lewis actually carded me, right? Which that's the difference. Like Ray Lewis said, here's my card.
Yeah.
Call me.
So I watched that exchange. It was amazing.
Yeah. So the key is everything starts with hello.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to learn, when I say you, right? Anyone listening in the audience that this is resonating with, you need to know how to say hello, and you need to know how to deliver in 10 seconds or less who you are, what you do, what problem you help people solve. How can you make a difference in that individual's life? And when you learn how to do that, when you learn how to structure the right presentation, again, with truth and authenticity, the result, what you'll get from that is people will want what you have versus you having to convince them that you have what they need.
Right.
And I don't wake up in the morning. I don't wake up in the morning with the intention that I'm trying to get something from people. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I'll give you an example. Last week, I was supposed to be in Raleigh with you last week, right? We were supposed to do this live. And fortunately, but unfortunately, last Wednesday, I flew to Orlando, and then I flew back to Raleigh to take my daughter to look at some colleges. And then I got a call that night to be in Phoenix the next morning to do a speaking engagement for a workshop for one of my clients. And I'm leaving, and I told somebody, drop me off at Starbucks. I want a coffee. And they said, well, let us take you to the airport. I said, no, I got an hour. I'm going to have a cup of coffee, make some calls, do some emails. I'll take an Uber. I walk up to the guy. His name tag is right there. His name was Billy. He opened the window. I said, Billy. And I started singing some corny song, right? Made him laugh. Again, wasn't right. I just long day.
Yeah.
And I said, Billy, nice to meet you, brother. I want a nitro, whatever, cold brew with sweet cream. And he's like, what do you do? And I empower sales professionals, business owners to shorten their sales cycle. I was just here for a little speaking event. And I get done, and he puts my coffee down, and I take out my credit card, and he's like, no, it's on me.
Wow. And
I was taken back, and I'm like, no, brother. I'm like, yeah, here you go. He goes, no, I forgot. I don't even know what he told me. Like, he just said, in so many words, like, you came up, you're a fresh face, you seem like a nice guy, and I wanted to do something nice for you.
Wow.
So I felt guilty. I only had hundreds on me. I didn't have change. Like, I wanted to give him a tip. He's like, no, don't take away what I wanted to do for you. Fortunately, I had one of my books on me. I gave him a book. Why am I telling you that? Because when you interact with people, you call them by name, you make them feel significant.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even have to come from a place of intention. I got on the plane. the lady's handing me the cookies. I'm like, oh, these are great. I said, what's your name? She said, Bethany, right? Her name was Bethany. I said, Bethany, nice to meet you. I'm Charlie. I said, my wife loves these cookies. I said, I'm going to save these for her. She came back. She brought me 4 more. I said, oh, that was nice of you, Bethany. I said, thank you. Now I go back to use the restroom. I'm making small talk. We're talking about her kids. Again, she took out a sleeve of cookies where I didn't even want the damn cookies. I could not take them. Literally, I'm not joking. I went home and handed these cookies to my wife. She goes, where'd you buy these? So I'm only sharing that with you because when you come from a place of good intention, when you're out there shaking people's hands, making people feel significant, really asking them about who they are, what they do, and they have clarity about who you are and what you do, you start to build these relationships and people will want to be a part of you. You're giving off a good energy. They'll want to do business with you. And that's, when I go deeper, that's what I teach people how to do. How do you create your power presentation with clarity? And then how do you take people through a process where they want to engage, they want to know more, they have interest in your products or your services. And it really is a skill that's transferable. And that's, like I've done with you, right? That's my passion. I transfer that skill to teach people, how to shake a hand, how to make their power presentation, and convert that into a sales process via a conversation that will ultimately convert.
If you've ever wanted to learn how to write over $5 million a year in annuity volume, Level Up Advisors Academy was built for you. In this academy, we talk about things like how to do massive annuity production, assets under management, big whole life and IUL cases. Look, 5 years ago, before I built this product, I didn't even know how to spell the word annuity, but a simple system that I learned allowed me to write over $5 million a year in annuity production and now over $10 million a year. I took what I know, the system that I've built, and I put it into Level Up Advisors Academy for you to be able to have access to it 24/7 on demand. If you've ever want to take your business to the next level, this academy was built for you. Click the link below to get access today. Look forward to working with you in the future.